The world is changing. What once seemed impossible is now happening before our eyes. Extreme droughts, uncontrollable wildfires, devastating earthquakes, and global conflicts are unfolding at an alarming rate. But what if someone had already foreseen all of this decades ago? Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, made over 14,000 predictions throughout his life, many of which have come true with eerie accuracy. But what's even more unsettling are the warnings he left behind about the years to come, particularly our present time. Cayce spoke of geographical transformations, climate upheavals, and a global spiritual awakening that would divide humanity into those who adapt and those who fall into chaos. He warned of earthquakes in unexpected places, polar shifts, and massive floods that would reshape entire continents. But what if these prophecies are not just distant possibilities? What if they are already happening right now? Today, we will uncover Edgar Cayce's most alarming predictions, examine how they align with today's world, and reveal the hidden warnings for 2025 and beyond. If these visions are real, then the next few years will be unlike anything we've ever seen. But the real question is, are we prepared for what's coming? To understand the gravity of these prophecies, we must first explore the man behind them. Who was Edgar Cayce? How did he gain the ability to see the future? Before we dive into the shocking prophecies unfolding before our eyes, we must first understand the man behind them. Edgar Cayce, often called the Sleeping Prophet, was born in 1877 in rural Kentucky. Unlike other children, Cayce showed an early fascination with spirituality, spending hours reading the Bible and seeking deeper meaning in ancient texts. But there was something truly extraordinary about him. At the age of 11, Cayce had a mystical vision that changed his life. A mysterious woman appeared and asked him what he desired most. His answer? To help others, especially the sick. Little did he know, this moment would define the rest of his life. However, Cayce struggled in school, unable to retain information. His father, frustrated by his poor grades, pushed him to work harder. Then, something unbelievable happened. One night, after falling asleep with his school book under his head, Cayce awoke knowing everything inside it. From that moment on, he absorbed knowledge in ways that defied logic, a phenomenon many believed was proof of his supernatural abilities. But his most mysterious gift appeared years later, after severe spinal injury left him paralyzed. Doctors had no solution. In semi-conscious state, Cayce began speaking in a trance, describing a detailed herbal remedy that would heal his body. Desperate, his family followed his instructions, and miraculously, he fully recovered overnight. This event marked the beginning of Cayce's incredible journey as a psychic healer. Word spread quickly, and soon people from all over sought his prophetic readings, hoping for guidance on health, relationships, lost civilizations, and even the future of the world. What set Cayce apart from other psychics of his time was his accuracy. Many of his readings were recorded, studied, and later verified. Unlike fortune tellers, he never charged for his visions and claimed that his ability was a gift from a higher power to help humanity. But what truly cemented his legacy were his world-changing prophecies. Cayce spoke of the rise and fall of empires, economic collapses, and earth-shifting cataclysms, events that seemed impossible at the time, but later came true with chilling accuracy. If he was right about so many things, what about the prophecies that are unfolding today? Are we witnessing the beginning of the massive global shifts he warned us about? To answer this, we must first explore the prophecies that have already come true. Because once you see how accurate Cayce was, you'll understand why his warnings for the future cannot be ignored. Throughout history, many have claimed to predict the future, but few have left behind documented evidence as compelling as Edgar Cayce. Over the course of his life, he made more than 14,000 recorded predictions, many of which were dismissed at the time, only to come true years or even decades later. Among his most shocking and accurate predictions were global conflicts, economic crises, and groundbreaking discoveries. Let's take a closer look at the prophecies that prove Cayce's abilities were far beyond coincidence. 1. The Great Depression of 1929. Years before the stock market crash of 1929, Cayce warned that the United States would suffer an economic collapse that would devastate millions. He urged his followers to be cautious with investments, warning that a great financial reckoning was on the horizon. When the markets finally collapsed, those who had followed his advice managed to save their wealth, while the rest of the world was plunged into crisis. 2. The rise and fall of Adolf Hitler and World War II. In the early 1930s, long before Adolf Hitler's full rise to power, Casey predicted that Germany would be ruled by a man with a destructive agenda. He warned of a global conflict that would involve multiple nations, leading to a devastating war unlike any before. His prophecy became reality with the outbreak of World War II in 1939. Even more chillingly, he foresaw the war ending in 1945, precisely the year the conflict came to a close. 3. The fall of the Soviet Union. During the height of the Cold War, the idea that the Soviet Union would collapse seemed unthinkable. Yet, decades earlier, Casey had predicted that Russia would undergo a radical transformation. He even stated that the hope for the world's future would come from Russia, but not under communist rule. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed, marking the fulfillment of yet another of Casey's eerie forecasts. 4. The rise of China as a global power. In the early 20th century, China was considered a fragmented and war-torn country. However, Casey accurately predicted that China would emerge as one of the dominant forces on the world stage. Today, China is not only a global economic powerhouse, but also a major influence in politics, trade, and technological advancements. 5. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. One of Casey's most astounding predictions involved the discovery of ancient religious texts. He spoke about a hidden collection of sacred manuscripts that would change the way humanity understands its origins. In 1947, years after his death, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in caves near Qumran, confirming yet another of his astonishing prophecies. 6. Evidence of Atlantis. For centuries, the legend of Atlantis has fascinated historians and researchers. Casey frequently spoke of a lost civilization that had disappeared beneath the ocean but had left traces behind. He pinpointed the location near Bimini, in the Bahamas, stating that remnants would be found in the late 1960s. In 1968, divers discovered an unusual underwater rock formation known as the Bimini Road, which some believe could be evidence of an ancient, advanced civilization. These are just a few examples of Edgar Cayce's remarkably accurate visions. If he was right about economic crashes, wars, and lost civilizations, what about the predictions that are still unfolding today? One of his most chilling prophecies was that our planet would experience extreme geographical changes, intensified natural disasters, and a spiritual awakening that would divide humanity. And here's the shocking part. It's already happening. If Edgar Cayce was right about wars, economic collapses, and lost civilizations, then his most chilling prophecies about geographical and spiritual transformations deserve our attention. One of his most disturbing predictions warned that the Earth itself would begin to change in ways humanity could not ignore, and it seems that moment has arrived. Cayce spoke extensively about climate upheavals, earthquakes, and rising sea levels, stating that these events would signal the beginning of a new era. According to his readings, certain areas of the world would disappear underwater, while others would rise unexpectedly. At the time, his claims seemed like pure speculation. But today, scientists and climate experts confirm that Earth's geography is shifting at an alarming rate. 1. The polar shift and climate change. Cayce predicted that the Earth's magnetic poles would shift, causing dramatic disruptions to weather patterns and natural ecosystems. Today, NASA and other space agencies have confirmed that the magnetic North Pole is moving faster than ever before, leading to erratic weather, rising temperatures, and melting polar ice caps. The consequences? Unprecedented heat waves, massive storms, wildfires, and floods, all of which are becoming increasingly common. 2. The activation of volcanoes Edgar Cayce mentioned. In his readings, Cayce specifically mentioned the eruption of Mount Etna in Italy and Mount Pelee in Martinique as signs that global changes were accelerating. In recent years, both volcanoes have become increasingly active, with eruptions and seismic activity growing stronger. Could this be the very warning Cayce foresaw? 3. Increased earthquake activity in unusual locations. Cayce warned that earthquakes would strike regions that had previously been stable, reshaping entire continents. Recent data confirms a surge in seismic activity, with major earthquakes hitting areas where such events were once rare. For example, the devastating earthquakes in Turkey and Syria in 2023, increased seismic activity along the California fault lines, which Cayce predicted would eventually split parts of the United States. Unusual earthquakes recorded in the Atlantic Ocean near the Bermuda Triangle, where Cayce believed remnants of Atlantis might be buried. 4. The spiritual shift and the division of humanity. Beyond physical disasters, Cayce spoke of a massive spiritual awakening that would separate people into two groups. those who embrace a higher consciousness, and those who remain trapped in chaos and materialism. Many believe this prophecy is manifesting today. Around the world, more people are seeking deeper spiritual understanding, exploring ancient wisdom, and questioning the systems that govern modern life. At the same time, society is more divided than ever, with increasing conflicts, ideological polarization, and economic uncertainty. If Casey's timeline is accurate, the next phase of global transformation is just beginning. But his predictions don't stop here. He spoke of shocking changes yet to come, some that could reshape the world as we know it. If what Edgar Cayce predicted about climate shifts, natural disasters, and spiritual awakenings is already happening, what does that mean for the events he foresaw in the years ahead? According to his readings, we are only at the beginning of a much larger transformation, one that will completely reshape the world politically, geographically, and spiritually. One of the most dramatic warnings Cayce gave was about the future reconfiguration of the Earth's landmasses. He stated that certain continents would face devastating floods and earthquakes, while others would experience unexpected land emergence. Among his most alarming claims was that parts of North America would be split by a new waterway, drastically altering the map. Today, scientists have observed growing instability along the New Madrid Fault Line, an area that, if it shifts, could create a massive inland sea stretching through the United States. Cayce also predicted the submersion of coastal regions, particularly in Japan, Europe, and parts of the eastern United States. Rising sea levels have already caused irreversible damage in several locations, forcing entire communities to relocate. If his predictions are accurate, many more cities may disappear beneath the waves in the coming years. Beyond the physical changes, Cayce also spoke of the collapse and restructuring of global power dynamics. He claimed that a great crisis would lead to the downfall of certain nations and the rise of others. According to his readings, China would emerge as a dominant force, something that was unimaginable at the time but is now a reality. However, he also mentioned that Russia would play a key role in the future of global peace, stating that the world hope would come from this nation, not through war, but through a transformation in its societal values. Another major shift he described was a crisis in the financial system. Cayce warned that the world's economy would face an unprecedented collapse, forcing humanity to rethink its approach to money and trade. Today, with economic instability, inflation, and the rise of digital currencies, some believe we are moving toward the financial reset he predicted. However, perhaps Cayce's most profound warning was not about politics or geography, but about the future of human consciousness. He believed that these chaotic events were not just random occurrences, but part of a larger spiritual transition. He spoke of a time when humanity would have to choose between two paths, awakening to a higher understanding or remaining trapped in fear and materialism. Many today interpret this prophecy as the mass awakening happening across the world, with more people seeking spiritual meaning, questioning old systems, and reconnecting with ancient wisdom. But Cayce also warned that those who resist this change will face great internal and external struggles, leading to even more division in society. If his predictions continue to unfold as they have in the past, then the next few years could bring even greater challenges and opportunities. But Cayce didn't just warn about what was coming, he also provided guidance on how to prepare. If Edgar Cayce's predictions are accurate, then the coming years will bring profound transformations, both in the physical world and in human consciousness. But unlike many prophets who simply foretold destruction, Cayce left behind a roadmap for those who wanted to prepare. He believed that those who embraced spiritual awareness, practical wisdom, and self-sufficiency would not only survive the changes ahead but thrive in them. One of the key aspects of his guidance was the importance of spiritual alignment. Cayce emphasized that, in times of crisis, fear would become humanity's greatest enemy. He taught that those who focused on faith, compassion, and self-improvement will be able to navigate turbulent times with clarity and resilience. This aligns with his belief that a spiritual awakening would accompany the physical transformations of the earth, and that those who were in tune with higher consciousness would find themselves naturally protected. He also advised people to be mindful of their environment. Cayce warned that large cities and coastal areas would be at risk due to geographical upheavals, and he suggested that people consider living in higher altitudes or near natural resources. While this may have sounded extreme at the time, recent events such as rising sea levels, urban instability, and increasing natural disasters have made his warnings seem more relevant than ever. Another major component of Cayce's preparation plan was self-sufficiency. He believed that those who learned to grow their own food, rely on natural medicine, and build strong local communities would be far better equipped for the future. He frequently spoke about the importance of diet and health, stating that what we consume directly affects not only our physical well-being but also our mental and spiritual clarity. He encouraged people to eat fresh, natural foods and avoid heavily processed meals, a principle that modern nutritionists and health experts now widely support. Cayce also stressed the importance of intuition and developing psychic abilities. He believed that as humanity evolved, people would regain lost spiritual abilities, such as heightened intuition, telepathy, and a deeper connection with the energy of the universe. He encouraged meditation, dream analysis, and spiritual study as tools to help individuals align with these higher abilities. Finally, he warned that humanity would face a choice: to either embrace this transformation and elevate their consciousness or remain attached to materialism and fear. According to him, those who chose the latter path would struggle the most in the coming years, while those who focused on love, service, and spiritual understanding would find peace, even in the midst of chaos. As we stand on the brink of these predicted changes, the question remains: are we prepared to embrace the future with wisdom and awareness, or will we be caught off guard by the events unfolding around us? Throughout history, few figures have left behind a legacy as compelling and mysterious as Edgar Cayce. His prophecies about wars, economic crises, climate disasters, and spiritual transformations have proven to be eerily accurate. And now, as we stand on the edge of massive global changes, his warnings for the future seem more relevant than ever. The question is no longer whether his predictions were real, but rather how we choose to respond to them. Will we ignore the signs, dismissing them as coincidence? Or will we take them as a wake-up call to prepare for the challenges ahead? Cayce believed that the future was not set in stone, that human consciousness could shape the outcome of events. He urged people to seek spiritual growth, live with compassion, and align themselves with higher wisdom. He saw crisis not as an end, but as a doorway to transformation. So now the choice is yours. Do you believe that Edgar Cayce's warnings are unfolding before our eyes? Have you noticed the signs of change in the world around you? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to stay ahead of the mysteries that shape our world, subscribe now for more prophetic insights and hidden knowledge.